everyone. Dr. Judy here, Dr. Judy WTF. And I'm hoping that this is a better hour for everyone, better hour for the people on the East Coast, better hour for the people on the West Coast and anything in between and across the ocean as well. I'm Dr. Judy Rosenberg, and the show is titled Dr. Judy WTF with the Freud because we keep repeating things that we are blueprinted with. And I'll get into this blueprint business. Tonight's topic, leaving a narcissist and getting on with your life. That is a big task. And so this is a call-in show, everyone. And you know that I love call-ins. Don't mind questions in the chat room, but be brave. Call in. Let's discuss your issue. It's so much more interesting when we could use live examples and mind map it, which is something that I do on every show, and I will help you become familiar with the mind map if you've never even heard of a mind map. So leaving a narcissist. So I thought about Theodore Roosevelt and his quote, "Speak softly and carry a big stick." And I think that's important. When you're leaving a narcissist, it is important to carry a big legal stick, carry a big psychological stick, carry a big strategic stick. And I don't mean that I want you to take a stick and bash him in the head, although you may feel like doing that. But you've got to be in some kind of a situation of power and control. And I've talked about power and control as the opposite of intimacy and love. However, in the case of leaving a narcissist, you've got to stay in power and control. And I do not recommend that you do this alone because they're smart, they're sneaky, there are overt narcissists, there are covert narcissists, and you're going to have a good legal team. So one of the things that I learned when I was in supervision back in the day when I was studying to become a psychologist is that you don't want to irritate somebody that you need to have leave your practice, or in this case, leave your life. So it is better if they leave you. The problem with that is because you're probably toxically bonded to the person, it's going to feel like a narcissistic injury to you if they leave you. If they do leave you, I say, lucky you, because let them go, let them feed on somebody else. Hopefully not. I don't mean that in a way where somebody else should suffer. But I think the smarter you are, the more psychologically aware that you are, the better legal knowledge you have, the more proactive you are in your strategy for exiting stage left, the better off you're going to be. So let's go back to this narcissistic injury. We know that narcissists are harsh on the outside, but they're very tender on the inside, and we don't want to trigger off their feelings of worthlessness, their feelings of powerlessness, their feelings of inadequacy, which is why they built the narcissistic shell to begin with. So you want to set it up so that they leave you. And how do you do that? Well, there's no particular way that you can do that. However, if you make it so that they're not getting their supply from you, they might decide that it's not worth it for them. So what is the supply that I'm talking about? I'm talking about money, talking about emotional support, I'm talking about sexuality, I'm talking about anything where you are giving to them. So the first line of defense is to stop giving and start preventing the flow of narcissistic supply from leaving you. So now you hold that energy. So if you need that energy of supply, then you give it to yourself via saving money, saving your breath in a potential argument, saving yourself from um, uh, being manipulated and controlled. And the best way that I know how to do that is by learning you. You've got to understand your childhood wounds, how you react, how you encode everything, how you break down, and how you defend, and how ultimately to get out of a very toxic situation, which is really difficult because of all the toxic bonds that keep you stuck in there, and all the perks and all the fears and all the insecurities that you carry with you. And that means, yes, therapy, mind map therapy. So let's look at the mind map and see what's going on here from your end, because why are you in this bad deal to begin with? Well, as I said earlier, we repeat things that are not healed. So what is not healed gets repeated in the next relationship. So let's look at panel one. Panel one represents your light, which is the best of your best. And it also represents the shadows that you're still carrying in your psyche, shadows from the past. I will go through each and every one of them so you understand the abuses and neglects that people incur in childhood and then reactivate and then activate again in adult life. So those wounds are verbal abuse, physical abuse, sexual abuse, control smothering, narcissistic injury, such as emotional abuse and cutoff, and lack of empathy. Okay, so if you're verbally, sexually, emotionally abused, if you've been neglected, if somebody's trying to power and control over you, and if you come from a family of origin where your parents put their own needs and feelings above yours and use you to supply them with their narcissistic needs, it flips the system. So instead of your needs being met, it's their needs being met. And so how does this transfer? Transfers into the next relationship, because this is what you're used to. You're used to meeting other people's needs and not your own needs. So it's very hard to leave a narcissist because you're already on that track. Pleasing, 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 trying to fish yourself out of horrible core beliefs, which we'll get deeper into, but I'll give you an example. So the idea is that if you please the narcissist, then you will finally be good enough or worthwhile or lovable. It's just that that's not true. No amount of pleasing a narcissist will convince them that you're more of anything. As a matter of fact, they'll probably lose respect for you because they'll think that you're some kind of a sucker, and then the respect goes out the window, and they can just use and abuse you even more. So this is a call-in show, everybody. So please call in. Let's discuss your situation and see what it takes to leave a narcissist, because the first step is deciding that enough is enough. So let's go through the mind map and see how it all breaks down. So again, panel one, childhood wounds of abuses and neglects, the narcissistic injury where parents lack empathy, and then you react to this. And this is panel two. What happens when you react? Your amygdala, your emotional brain, goes on fire. It reacts by either shutting down or getting dysregulated, getting angry, anxious, and all of those reactive emotions in you getting all stirred up. And you can see panel two also represents a cracked lens of perception. So this is where your world begins to crack. You're no longer seeing straight because you're no longer getting the support that you need, the attunement, the mirroring, the emotional environment that you need to become the best of your best. I'm going now back to John Bowlby, father of attachment theory, and his description of what it takes to form a healthy human psyche, which is the consistency, the unconditional love in childhood, the framework of structure, the closeness of body contact, the eye contact, the breastfeeding in an ideal world. Okay, and the further and further we get away from nature, the more disconnected we feel. And then when we are primed by our caregivers to be that hurt and disconnected, we encode that information into our psyche. So moving to panel 3, you can see that some pretty nasty encodings take place. So if that DNA structure is a metaphor for your family structure, say your primary, secondary caregiver, usually mother, father, if you look at those bonds that keep the family structure together, and you look at the little people on the ladder, you could see this is a metaphor for a toxic bond. It is built unstable, so it is meant to fall apart because it is truly a system, a structure that is the system gone wrong, as I like to call it. And so that you can see the little people on the ladder. I know it's really hard to see, but if you look at the little people on the ladder, and by the way, you can go to my website, 𝗖𝗢𝗠𝗠𝗘𝗧.com, and you can see it more clearly and learn more about narcissism, because I did put a video together called Healing from Narcissistic Abuse, and it's up on my website. I have given away the introduction for free. You can go there, click it, and learn the mind map, and also get a free copy of my book if you wish. The copy of the book titled Be the Cause, Healing Human Disconnect. And that's where I connect all the dots from your wounds of childhood, your reactions and your encodings, and all the breakdowns. So if you could see how panel 3, a metaphor for the system gone wrong, and horrible cognitive beliefs like I'm not good enough, I'm not worth it, I'm not this enough and that enough. We know that the narcissist, intuitively, they just know what your negative core beliefs are, and they can play you like a fiddle. So when you're leaving the narcissist, you've got to know how they manipulate you and what your vulnerabilities are, because the more vulnerable you are, the more you will fall prey to their tactics. And that's where the mind map comes in. So we've got to shed light on these wounds of childhood, how your lens of perception on yourself got cracked, the negative core beliefs that you formed to then be triggers for people to activate that then break you down. Let's go to the next panel, because the first 3 I call how you've been encoded. So that's the encoding process. Panel 4, 5, 6 is how to decode the mess, how to deconstruct the system gone wrong so that you are not victim to narcissistic abuse. So you can see that panel 1, 2, 3 set you up for the chaos, the defenses, and the breakdowns. So you see 1, 2, 3 connects to 4, 5, 6. So after 1, 2, 3 is the chaos, which is where the system falls apart, the defenses, which is where you learn how to either shut down or numb the pain, or act out and become offensive instead of defensive, and then how you break down into either an implosion where you turn all the anger inward and get depressed, or you turn all the anger outward and get angry and destructive and act out that way. So in the process of the mind map therapy, you do not want to be imploding and stuffing your feelings and getting sick with anger turned inward that turns into depression, nor do you want to project all your angry feelings onto other people, especially people who don't deserve it, right? And then spew your psychological pain on others and act out. So neither one of those work. That's why I like to say don't implode, don't explode, unload and clean the psychological poison out so that you can reboot the system into panel 789, which is synergy and paradigm shift out of the mess, creating synergy, healing, and balance. That's where you're headed. So leaving a narcissist means that the storyboard of your life changes from chaos, defenses, and breakdowns to a paradigm shift into synergy, healing, and balance. Sounds pretty fantastic, doesn't it? It's just that you've got to get there. And in order to get there, we've got a lot of work to do, like making the unconscious conscious, exposing childhood wounds that you carry within, treating the amygdala so that you're not a bunch of reactions, addressing cognitions that are lies and misconceptions and misperceptions that are still living in your psyche, and they are the hot buttons that narcissists like to push and detonate in you all day long. So let's take an example. Let's say they feel threatened that you're getting smart and that you're about to go. Well, one common technique that people are familiar with that narcissists do is they gaslight you. What is gaslighting? Gaslighting is where you start to feel crazy, you doubt your reality, and their reality becomes more prominent and more important and more believable than your very own reality. By making you crazy, they invalidate you, and so then you begin to question whether they're right and you're worthless and a failure, or you should or shouldn't leave, and it becomes more difficult to leave. So, okay, we've got a question. Go for it.
And if you want to call in to ask that question, you can call 323-524-2599, but 323-524-2599. But the question is, when you are under the spell of a narcissist, how do you or how do they begin to start to cut the cord without completely turning their life upside down?
So when you're under the spell of a narcissist, how do you cut the cord without turning their life upside down?
Sounds like both of theirs.
You mean both your life upside down and their life upside down? It's going to be really hard not to turn it upside down, okay? Because they're going to do everything to power and control and make you wrong and take your money and take your credibility and so on and so forth. So the first thing is, I would say, if you're married to a narcissist or you've got legal entanglements with the narcissist, please get an attorney, smarten up, power up, get a great therapist, and we have some great people on the team at the Psychological Healing Center. We even have that video that you can do yourself and go through the steps of healing yourself from narcissistic abuse. And anytime you need a therapist to help you, you can add services to your individual journey. So be smart, be conscious. You said the magic words, under the spell. That means unconscious. Remember basic psychology, there's the unconscious, which is underwater. Then there's pre-conscious, which is you're kind of aware of what's going on. And then there's the conscious. So anything that's living here in the unconscious is stuff that you don't know that you don't even know. Like, I know that I don't speak Japanese, but there are certain things that I don't even know that I don't even know. Okay, and that's so blind spot and out there, it's out of our awareness. So that's what the therapy is for, is to bring it into our awareness, because narcissists are also very intuitive insofar as what your weakness is. So they prey on your weakness, gaslighting, manipulating, love bombing, future faking, making false promises, telling you that everything's going to be okay in the future. All kinds of ways to rope you back in. And if you truly want to leave a narcissist, I think one of the best strategies is to start turning off the flow of narcissistic supply. And you could do it very gently. They want money from you. Oh, honey, I would love to. It's just that, wow, um, you know, it's all tied up, or um, I can't. And then, of course, they're gonna bear down harder on you. Or your body, sexuality. Oh, I'm not feeling so well. So you start turning the faucet off, so then they get less and less from you and less interested in you. I remember a person that said to me many years ago, "Oh, well, I have a new person, and what I love about the new person is um, she's just so unaware. She just doesn't know." So that's what narcissists like. They like people who are in the dark. They like people who don't know. So if they leave you, don't take that as an insult. Take it as a compliment. Because if you start growing and they don't like what you now know and what you see, the thing they hate the most is exposure. The thing they hate the most is to be humiliated. And what's humiliating to a narcissist is you're seeing through them. Kind of like the emperor has no clothes. Remember that story? One of my favorite stories. I tell it over and over to my grandson, who also loves that story. It's about an emperor that is fooled into thinking that he is gloriously dressed in silk and satin and gold and diamond and rubies, and he's convinced by his tailors that he is just the most handsome and royal king in all of the universe, and actually he's naked. And the tailors tell the public that anybody who cannot see his royalty and his greatness is a village idiot. Okay, so nobody's going to say anything about his being naked because they don't want to be seen as the village idiot. Except there's one little kid, always one little child, who says, "The emperor has no clothes." And then mom says, "Shh, shh, be quiet, be quiet." He goes, "The emperor has no clothes." And mom says, "Shh, be quiet. Don't, don't talk that way." And then finally he shouts, "The emperor has no clothes. The emperor has no clothes." And then the audience, the public, starts waking up and they start whispering, "Yeah, the emperor has no clothes." So that's what the narcissist doesn't want. Doesn't want to be seen as naked, wants to be seen as great and royal and elegant and one above everything else, and all of that and a bag of chips. Okay, so if you're not seeing that, they're humiliated, and they may resort to narcissistic rage. And narcissistic rage is when they get frustrated and humiliated and shamed for being exposed, and you don't want to encounter that. So one of the things that you want to do when leaving a narcissist, when you're ready to do that, is do not activate their narcissistic rage, which is really hard not to activate. So you leave quietly, speak softly, carry a big stick. What are the big sticks that I'm referring to? Big legal stick, a big psychological stick called knowledge, insight, doing the work so that you are not vulnerable and living in your unconscious and repeating things from the past, and removing yourself and disentangling from the toxic bond. So these are the things that you need to do in order to prepare yourself for leaving the narcissist. So there's this big thunderstorm outdoors, and it's perfect timing. It's like nature's orchestrating the scenario for leaving the narcissist. Is going to be thunder and lightning and clouds and rain and doom and gloom. And there are a lot of things that are going to be going on around you. But please speak softly and carry a big stick. And in terms of your process and your work internally, the big stick is for you to become conscious of your unconscious and conscious of how your family of origin groomed you to sign up for narcissistic relationships. So these are very, very important things to consider so that you can extricate yourself consciously so that you can get in power. One of the things narcissists love to do is surround themselves with flying monkeys. So they like to alienate you from your friends. They like to alienate you from your family. Again, they're great gaslighters. So if you say something, they'll say, oh my God, he or she is crazy. What, like, I never said that. Wow, there's something wrong with your sister, something wrong with your brother. There's something wrong here. He or she's losing it. So please, don't listen to her. She's off base. So even the people that you need to surround yourself with as your support system start getting tainted by the narcissist manipulation. And believe me, they're really, really good at this. So, knowledge is power. Know what's coming down the pike, understand how to be proactive in the system, and leave quietly. So one of the things that you want to know before leaving a narcissist is how to protect your assets. So before you pull the plug, make sure that you've got money that you have under your name. Make sure that you take your personal belongings and put it in a safe place. These are things that probably your attorney would tell you. Please make sure that you have transparency in knowing what your bank account statements are, your IRA statements, all your investments. You want to see this because often narcissists are good at hiding assets. And so you might end up having to get a forensic psychologist involved, or not only a forensic psychologist, a forensic accountant is what I wanted to say, involved, so that everything can be transparent and they don't get to hide the assets. So again, this is a call-in show, and it's funny because there's thunder and lightning and everything going on outside. I think you could probably hear the storm outside. I'm here in Sherman Oaks, California, and it is raining and raining and raining. And I think these are nature's special effects, especially tailored for the show. Leaving a narcissist, thunder, lightning, soaked to the bone, slippery when wet, mudslides. It's difficult. So power up, get smart, and get your ducks in order, and be proactive. That's really very, very important. So if you look at panel number 4, panel 4 is chaos. Chaos is the result of reactions. Chaos is a result of being at the effect of. When you prevent yourself from falling into chaos, you are being proactive. And the smartest thing to do is to be proactive. And that's why I say do your homework, do your work, do your financial planning, do your psychological healing, anything you need. And very important, get support. Get support from the people who care and love about you. Get support from the people who have your back. Wow, that was a big thunderstorm and lightning. Okay, so special effects going on in nature as designed. Another question, please. Yes.
It might just be my stomach growling. No, I'm just kidding.
Sure. Or mine.
So there was a question about leaving a narcissist. Is it good to just cut it off and go, or are there steps leading up to it to get out of it?
It depends. If it's somebody, if you can pull a geographical and just leave and they can't really find you, well, then do what you need to do. If you're in a domestic violence situation, if you're so emotionally abused that you've got to get the heck out of there, then do it. But just remember, it's better if you set it up so that they leave you. So even though I call this episode leaving a narcissist and getting your life back, how about setting it up so that they leave you? Okay, that would be much smarter. But do get your ducks in order. Do have money set aside, because they will cut you off from your own finances. They'll cancel credit cards. Don't forget, their thing is power and control. And so they'll power and control over money. They'll power and control over just about anything, even your own children. So you want to put together everything before you start extricating yourself, meaning please have a plan, legal plan, a psychological plan, a support system. And every situation is unique, and that's why you need to really take a look at your situation, take a look at where you've got the ability to get out or even stay and set boundaries. And it's sort of like a chess game. Sometimes you've got to outsmart, right? And there's no better way that I know of to outsmart a person than to be proactive. You've got to know what they're going to do. So if you've already seen what they've done, don't think that they're going to be any different. As a matter of fact, they're probably going to be worse, okay? Because while you were with them, at least they had some skin in the game of being nice to you or acting as if they were on your side. But once there's that disconnection, anything goes, right? Okay, so anything, demean, devalue, destroy, discard. This is their game. They will probably resort to demeaning you because now they're exposed and they're out of control. If you leave them, you're the leaver, they're the leavee, they're out of control. So that's why I say set it up so that they leave you. And make sure that when they do, or if and when they do, you take that as a gift. That's the hard part, because you probably be already so intoxicated by their narcissistic front of greatness that in your mind you might be thinking that you're leaving this amazing person. Well, let's take a closer look at the amazing person. If you're feeling less than, if your body's hurting because you're aching from being in such a high stress relationship, if your stomach is churning, if you feel tired every day because you're being vampired of your energy, these are signs, okay? They're clear signs that the person is taking from you. You've got to get out, because then you're just going to be a shell of a person if you aren't already. And that's why it's so important to get out before you psychologically and physically hurt yourself to the point where you could barely stand up in every sense of the word. So this is a call-in show, everybody. I would love to hear from you. I would love to hear examples from people perhaps who did get out, and how they got out, and how they strategically set their life up so that they could get out as safely as possible, given that you're leaving somebody who is narcissistically injured, because they have incurred their childhood wounds of being disconnected from and spoiled and ignored, or spoiled or ignored and having parents that really didn't feel any empathy toward them. So we've got to stay smart here. So this is not just a let's leave, goodbye. This is let's think, let's discuss, let's get an attorney involved, let's ask questions, let's take a look at my bank statements, let's take a look at who my support system is, let's look at my child custody situation. Are my children grown and I don't have to worry about splitting custody? You know, and another very important thing is, because they're so good at gaslighting, is keep a paper trail. So as they're trying to demean, destroy, manipulate, gaslight, spin your head around, you want to keep your head as straight on as possible, and take notes and dates and paper trail. Your attorney will probably tell you to do this if you're married to one and exiting a marriage, or even if you're in a relationship with one and you've got to pull out, whether it's a boss or a lover or a friend or anybody. You've got to be one step ahead of the game. And that's what I mean by proactive. Because if you're not proactive, then you're going to be at the effect. And that's why I call my book Be the Cause, because you want to be the cause of a better outcome for your life. Because being with a narcissist and living in this double dungeon of darkness, as I like to call it, where you cannot turn to anybody, you can't turn to the narcissist for support because they're not supportive and they lack what I call the empathy chip. So they don't know how to feel for you and protect you and show you the kind of love that's nourishing you. It's not a 1 + 1 is greater than 3 relationship. It's, as a matter of fact, a 1 + 1 is less than 2, and maybe even less than just you being by yourself. And that brings me to another fear. For people who've been abandoned, people who haven't had the attachment theory type of nurturing from their family of origin, the threat of abandonment is huge. So a lot of times you've got to cross that bridge of leaving and dealing with feelings of fear and abandonment and financial adjustment and adjustment to a new way of life. And that's a pretty big hurdle, and a lot of people will just throw in the towel and say, forget it, I can't handle this, I'm too weak, I can't do it. So that's what I'm saying. Don't do it alone. You need a team. You know, imagine if you've got to extricate yourself from a building on fire. Well, don't you need a team? You need the fire department. You need help maybe from neighbors. You need to have an exit strategy. You've got to put it together. And yes, your house is on fire. If you're needing to leave your relationship, that means that things got pretty bad, that you're literally living in panel 4, 5, 6, and your defenses are no longer working. Maybe your defense of drug, sex, rock and roll, numbing out, shutting down, getting angry, having conversations, anything that you thought was your defense mechanism, it's not working. It's not being heard. It's not being seen. So next step after defenses, break down. So I'm saying, don't break down, break through. Go through from the darkness of the past, through the obnoxious process of healing yourself and leaving a system gone wrong, a narcissistic system, to eventually paradigm shifting out of the mess and healing yourself so that you could be the cause of better outcomes of your life. So that's what I mean by being the cause. Being the cause means that you're now in control. You're not under the bus, you're driving in the bus. You're not unconscious and in the dark, you're seeing in front of you. You're not living your life looking the rear view mirror. You're looking at life through a clear lens of perception and the pathway ahead of you. And that's really being the cause. And of course, being conscious. You're not in your unconscious world where you can be manipulated, gaslit, and head spinned, which is the gaslighting. So any questions from anyone, please call in. And wow, the thunderstorm is crazy. We're having crazy weather here in Sherman Oaks. And I think that's part of the storm you have to weather to get through leaving a narcissist and breaking free. Okay, so before the sun comes out and the blue skies appear, you've got to go through a bit of a storm or a big storm. But please take with you your umbrella, take with you great walking shoes, take with you a pathway out of the storm, and a light so that you could see clearly. And any other questions in the chat room?
We do have a question here. How can someone work to rebuild their sense of self and self-esteem after leaving a narcissist? Is it therapy, or is it books, or what's your suggestions?
Well, books are always good, and I have a bunch of YouTubes. I've been doing the Dr. Judy WTF with the Freud show for over 10 years now, so please access the lessons that I go through in all the videos, and there's certainly a lot of topics on narcissism. However, I still think that it's important to have a therapist, a well-trained therapist. As you know, I really emphasize my mind map system because it is a plan. It's not just random therapy of talking it out and crying it out. We really have a plan of digging into childhood wounds and exposing the lies that you believed in, and exposing defense mechanisms that keep you stuck, and helping you process the psychological poison. It's really hard to do that for yourself. You need another enlightened witness. You need somebody to help you connect the dots so that you can have what I call your insights or aha experiences, which are the paradigm shifts that shift you out of the mess. So you don't want to just learn, you want to have a new way of seeing things, which then builds a new way of being in relationship to yourself and others. And then you choose differently. Because once you understand fully mind, body, and soul, the poisonous effects of narcissistic abuse on the system, on your psyche, your body, your spirit, then you can choose more wisely in part 2 of your life. And you could be the cause. One of my goals with my patients is to help them lose their taste for narcissists, because narcissists are very dopamine supplying. So they'll blow you up and make you feel great. It's the wine and the roses and the compliments and the love bombing and all that. And then once you're ensnared in the trap, they start withdrawing the love, and they start withdrawing the supplies. But guess who's still hooked and on the line? Because now they never were completely in, because they were not able to be fully, intimately, emotionally available for the relationship. But now you're in, and they can do whatever they want. So, who's got the power and control? They do. So you need to flip the system. That's why it's so integral to your well-being to get all kinds of levels of support, legal, psychological. Wow, the storm is crazy, and so interesting that it's the storm on the day that I'm doing Leaving a Narcissist. It really is quite a storm to leave a narcissist. It really is. So that's why I say, calm it down, speak softly, don't reveal much. Don't, like poker, don't reveal your hand. They don't have to know. They don't have to know that you're checking out your bank statements and taking inventory on your legal rights, and looking into child custody arrangements, and alimony and child support and talking to your friends and getting help. So prepare. It is a war in that sense, really. It is a war, but make it a war where you are prepared for this. So any other questions from the audience? Any thoughts, any comments? Again, I really suggest that you do this when you're a little bit stronger. You don't want to do this when you're so weakened down. So maybe before you decide to pull the plug, you'll want to do more self-care, go to the gym, eat healthier, take care of yourself, and beef up. In other words, strengthen up so that when you do so, you're not coming from this one-downsmanship position. So any thoughts, questions, or anything?
There is a question. Somebody asked, they said, do you study Kabbalah? I notice your red string. And is that an outlet?
I do. This is a psycho-spiritual mind map, and it was really born through my study of Kabbalah and the system of the way nature set up. We're created, and then things get destroyed, and then we rebuild. So from the darkness through the tunnel and into the light, from, through, to. And so I find that not only is it helpful for me to be a psychologist, it's very helpful for me to learn spiritual principles. And so, and not only that, I think it's really important to stay healthy nutritionally. I used to have a black belt in Taekwondo 17 years ago, and then I let it go. I got busy, I got tired, and that was my biggest regret. And just about a couple of months ago, I called my master, who's now 80 years old, and I asked him if I can come back. And he said, please, he's Korean, Judy, you come back now. You come Monday, you come Wednesday, you do private training with me. I put you in class, and I'm struggling. That's one lesson I learned, is that once you're in the groove of something, do not let it go. Do not allow yourself, just out of laziness and neglect, to let something go that strengthens you. So now I'm back, embarrassingly back, uncoordinated, not as limber as I used to be, but you know what? I'll fight it through, because I don't want to be at the effect of poor health. So it's always, you see, you choose. Either you're going to be the cause, or you're going to be at the effect of pain and negligence and bad relationships and bad food choices and bad choices in people. So, we are always waging war against the darkness, the shadows, whether they be shadows of addiction and poor nutrition, or horrible relationships, or anything that we can call the shadow. We're always challenged by this. So yes, my red string is my reminder of my system that I attribute to my study of Kabbalah. And that's when the mind map was created, back in 2001. You'll read all about it in my book, Be the Cause, Healing Human Disconnect. The mind map was all originally called Join the Human Race, Healing Global Disconnect. We are so far from joining the human race, it's ridiculous. I have to think of bringing back my thoughts on how to build a better human race. And one thing that I did is create a mind map called Living the Mind Map Way. And you could always email me and we'll send it to you. It's not up on my website. It's actually part of the video, Healing from Narcissistic Abuse. But I'm passionate about living the mind map way. So in essence, here's the mind map way. Before, we're Black, white, Christian, Jewish, Muslim, American, Chinese. Number one, we're a human being, but that's not good enough. We have to grow to be humane beings. So there are certain principles that we must follow, like the system gone right. I know I challenged myself big time, creating a map to heal global disconnect. Well, I discovered that you can't heal globally until you heal individually. So that's part of doing the work as a psychologist. And then healing globally, well, once we paradigm shift out of this idea that we can win anything through power and control, or that we can have a globe that's dissected, because no matter what we do, we're interconnected. So if we fight anybody, that pollution is gonna encircle the whole globe. So there's just no getting around it. So it's kind of like we have no choice. We need to understand that we are all interconnected, and we've got to find a way to create a synergistic human race. And that was the original intention of the mind map: healing global disconnect. And as a matter of fact, you're just reminding me, interestingly enough, I wrote a book back in the day called Lucid Darkness. I'll be happy to give you a free copy of that. I'm not a writer, so I conceived it and I had somebody help me with the writing. And it's about a psychologist, believe it or not, who creates a mind map to heal global disconnect. And she's invited to Gaza City, of all things, to heal the rift between Palestine and Israel, the Arab nations and Israel. Boy, that book couldn't be more timely. And the wish, of course, was to bring together the human race. And so if anybody's interested in that, just email me. I'll send it to you. I still think it's a very interesting book. I wish it could be made into a movie, but I'm not a film producer. If there's anybody else out there that wants to do such a thing, I think the timing is incredible, because we need a model of humanity, because we're breaking down. We're already in chaos. Our defenses are breaking down, and we're headed toward global mass destruction. And that was the original reason that I was inspired to create a system for healing global disconnect. So long story short, when we're involved in any kind of system gone wrong, it's always going to end in chaos, defenses, and breakdowns. So if you're leaving a narcissist, please remember, gear up, get the team together, be proactive, and don't stay in that dark place, because really you've got to do something to be the cause of creating something better for part 2 of your life. Thank you so much, everyone, and I will see you next week. Good night, everyone.